This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump announces a public safety emergency in the nation's capital and puts the city's police force under federal control. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Trump suggests he'll know pretty fast whether Vladimir Putin wants a peace deal with Ukraine. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A deadly shooting at a Texas Target.
This is a very sad day for Austin.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A modern reminder.
How dangerous of a job it is to make steel.
I'm Rich Johnson.
On Wall Street, investors are waiting for new inflation data this morning. It's been going in the wrong direction for 3 months. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
AOL is finally shutting down its dial-up internet service. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump takes the unprecedented step of federalizing Washington, D.C.'s police department as he's declared a public safety emergency in the nation's capital. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
Protect home rule. Protect.
Protests in downtown D.C. after President Trump announced the Justice Department would take over the Metropolitan Police Force as part of the administration's declaration of a public safety emergency.
Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment.
President Trump also announcing the activation of 800 National Guard members that he says will reduce crime.
They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out.
The president blamed a, quote, woke D.C. police department that he says should be revamped. He also says part of the goal will be to beautify the city. One of the ways he's planning on doing that, removing homeless encampments throughout the capital.
And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says she knew a change was coming, but was blindsided by the Trump administration's decision to take over the D.C. police force.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Protesters against the move include activist Samantha Davis, organizer at Free D.C.
This is not about crime. This is about control. This is not about public safety. This is about power.
Crime data released by the city shows violent crime is down 26% compared to a year ago. Still, D.C. resident Nicholas Dimitri Eiffel says it's not a safe city.
When I was a kid, it was dangerous, but it was a little bit more balanced, it felt like.
Gotcha.
You know, just a little bit. You know, it was crime then. Always been like a crime-ridden city, but right now, I think it's a lot.
Under the statute Trump is using to take over the police department, they are limited to 30 days of control. John Stolnis, Washington.
At a news conference, Donald Trump reiterated that an end to the war in Ukraine will likely include changes to national borders. But the president also said it won't take long during his Friday meeting in Alaska with Vladimir Putin to know if a Ukraine war peace deal is possible. Correspondent Sagar Meghani is following details.
President Trump suggests he'll know pretty fast whether Vladimir Putin wants a peace deal with Ukraine when they meet this week.
There'll be some swapping. There'll be some changes in land. And the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines.
Once they meet in Alaska.
Probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
And he's not handicapping the odds.
I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal.
At a White House news conference, the president ducked several chances to say he'd push for Vladimir Zelensky to be involved in the talks.
But I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap.
Dismissing the Ukrainian leaders need to be included.
He's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
But with Zelensky and European allies pushing for Ukraine's inclusion, the president says he'll call them all to tell them what kind of agreement Putin is pushing to end a war the president himself long insisted he could end in 24 hours.
I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds are on sale. Limited time only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Explosion at a Pittsburgh steel factory. We'll have the follow-up when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The America in the Morning National Weather Forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A slow-moving cold front through the Great Lakes will continue to cause showers and thunderstorms through the region. This is the same system that has caused widespread heavy rainfall through portions of the plains into the Midwest. The thunderstorms that develop today will be the heaviest from Illinois into Indiana, northward to eastern Wisconsin and Michigan. Certainly heavy rain can lead to localized flooding, but there could also be some damaging winds with a few of the heavier storms. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop to the south and west along this same boundary, but it'll be more scattered in nature through Missouri into eastern Kansas, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, also eastward to Kentucky, Tennessee, and western Ohio. Meanwhile, farther east in eastern Ohio, West Virginia into northern Virginia, northward to New England, it will be hot and dry with many highs in the 90s, including mid-90s in parts of Maine and New Hampshire. Behind this system, we're looking at much more comfortable weather through the northern plains from North and South Dakota into Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota. These areas will have plenty of sunshine, lower humidity, and afternoon temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Through a good part of the southeast, we're looking at another round of heavier thunderstorms again. This will encompass an area from southern Virginia into the Carolinas through parts of Georgia, and then continuing to northern Florida and eastern Alabama, and also along the Gulf Coast in Mississippi. Several areas reported 2 inches yesterday or more, and similar amounts will be possible today. And looking out west, we're going to have a largely dry day with plenty of sunshine for the region as high pressure holds strong over the area. We'll have many highs in the 100s from Washington southward to Arizona. That's the weather across America. It'll be cloudy in Greensboro, North Carolina with an afternoon thunderstorm or two and a high of 79. It's going to be hot in Palm Springs, California with plenty of sun and a high of 114. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. 3 people are dead and a gunman, along with a criminal history, apprehended after a shooting outside a major retail store in Austin, Texas. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Austin Mayor Kirk Watson calls the shooting at a Target store in his city a cowardly act of violence and praised police for their quick response.
This is a very sad day for Austin. It's a very sad day for us all.
Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis says that officers got to the store within 4 minutes of receiving a hotshot call.
When officers arrived, they were met with 3 people that were shot inside the parking lot of Target. The suspect fled the scene, stole a car from the scene, took that car, wrecked that car, then hijacked another car. He was then found by Austin PD in South Austin, where he was taken into custody after a tasing.
Police say the 32-year-old alleged shooter's motive isn't clear yet, but he does have an extensive rap sheet, according to Chief Davis. He's also said to have a history of mental health issues. 2 of the victims died in a Target parking lot, while a 3rd victim died at a local hospital. That suspect is in police custody. I'm Clayton Neville.
An explosion at a U.S. steel plant in Greater Pittsburgh has left 2 people dead, nearly a dozen others injured. Here's correspondent Rich Johnson with details.
Despite decades of improving safety,
Just reminds everybody how dangerous of a job it is to make steel.
Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman's keeping tabs on the recovery and what is bound to be a lengthy investigation into the blast inside the U.S. steel plant in Clairton, about 15 miles south of Pittsburgh.
Shook the scaffold, shook my chest, and shook the building.
Construction worker Zachary Buddy, speaking to WTAE, said he and fellow workers on that scaffold could immediately see the thick black smoke from the explosion. Just 5 miles or so up the road in Glassport, people knew something was very wrong.
That's all I could see out the window was black smoke. Very dark.
Ambulances flying up, taking people to the hospital. It was a bad situation.
I was sitting in my home office, and I felt my house shake.
Those comments courtesy of KDKA-TV. The Allegheny County Health Department told nearby residents to stay indoors, close windows, and put their HVAC systems on recirculate. But hours after the blast, air quality monitors did not detect anything of concern. The Clairton plant, which employs about 1,300 people, makes coke, the fuel that melts iron ore to make steel. Baking coal to make coke, which is nearly pure carbon, requires an oven that can get as hot as 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm Richard Johnson.
When we return on America in the Morning, Ford's new electric vehicle truck and Trump demands computer chip sales benefit the nation's bottom line. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with a check of Tuesday business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a losing day for stocks. The Dow fell 200 points. Investors are on hold for new inflation numbers that are coming this morning. We get the CPI Consumer Price Index for July at 8:30 Eastern. Inflation has been going in the wrong direction since April, as some economists believe companies have started passing along their tariff costs to U.S. consumers. The forecast for core inflation for July is now more than 3%. It came in at 2.9% in June. May was 2.8%. Core inflation excludes volatile food and energy prices, while some complain food inflation is some of the worst that consumers are handling. NVIDIA and AMD will pay 15% of their revenue from chip sales to China to the U.S. government in exchange for permits allowing them to sell to China. This is according to reports in the New York Times and the Financial Times.
So the president wants a piece of it. I don't know. Why shouldn't the country get some of it?
It is a new way. The Greg piece in the Journal just talking about we are moving closer to China than China moving closer to us. It's state-run capitalism. I mean, at what point are we going to get to the point where the government is seen as a better allocator of capital than the market?
That's already happening. That's what the CHIPS Act was. Right?
Well, the CHIPS Act was with carrots. These are with sticks.
Right.
And he's telling American business where they should invest, who they should have as a CEO, and where to send the check for a cut of the profits.
A little aggressive.
CNBC's Carl Quintanilla with Mad Money host Jim Cramer and David Faber. Cannabis stocks rallied yesterday on a Wall Street Journal report that President Trump is weighing drug reclassification, something the industry's been waiting for. Ford with an affordable electric pickup truck coming.
The next electric vehicle, it'll be an electric pickup truck. Estimated sales price, they're shooting for it to be about $30,000. This will be down at their Louisville, Kentucky plant. They're going to be investing $2 billion to convert that plant for EV production.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Companies are calling workers back to the office at the highest rate in 5 years for at least a few days a week, and it's starting to work as people are worried about losing their jobs.
Nearly 3/4 of the 184 companies surveyed said they have met their attendance goals, and that's up from 61% last year. This according to a new report from CBRE. Companies in the survey said they want employees in the office an average of 3.2 days a week.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, as we mentioned, it's all about inflation, the CPI at 8:30 Eastern. This is for July. Earnings are coming from Circle, CoreWeave, and Kava. Alien heads to the small screen for the first time. Alien Earth premieres on Hulu.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, remembering AOL dial-up after these messages. President Trump is nominating economist E.J. Antoni to become the next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Antoni would replace Erica McIntyre, who the president fired earlier this month after accusing her of manipulating jobs report data. McIntyre was terminated hours after her agency reported slower than expected non-farm job payroll growth in July, and after sharply revising downward previously reported June and May job gains. The Wall Street Journal first reported that the Trump administration interviewed Antoni, who is the chief economist for the Conservative Heritage Foundation, last week. Well, it's the end of an era for America Online. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the shutdown to that old-school internet access.
AOL is finally shutting down its dial-up internet service. It's viewed as perhaps a dinosaur by today's digital standards. Dial-up is still around, but AOL says as of September 30th, they're hanging up on it. AOL, formerly America Online, introduced many households to the World Wide Web when its dial-up service launched decades ago. Eventually, broadband and wireless offerings emerged and rose to dominance, doing away with the quirks of dial-up services. According to the Census Bureau, an estimated 163,000 households were using dial-up alone to get online in 2023, over 0.13% of all homes with internet subscriptions nationwide. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour,
some Washingtonians are blasting President Trump's move to put the Capitol's police under federal control. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Another week without a quorum in the Texas legislature, and leaders there are not happy. I'm Clayton Neville.
180 shots. More being learned about the man who opened fire in Atlanta at the building housing the CDC. I'm Jeff McKay.
AMD and NVIDIA to cut Uncle Sam in on the profits. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Investigating a deadly house fire in Maryland.
South Park enjoys some of its best ratings yet amid its White House row. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues with a check of the national forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Tropical moisture will continue to move into the southeast from the Gulf and Atlantic, and we're going to see some heavier thunderstorms develop as a result of that. Yesterday, we did see some reports of over 2 inches, and we'll have similar yields today. This will cover an area from southern Virginia into the Carolinas through parts of Georgia, and then continuing into northern Florida as well as eastern Alabama and along the Gulf Coast in Mississippi. And then we'll have a slow-moving cold front moving through the Great Lakes. This is going to cause some more showers and thunderstorms through the region. This is the same system that did cause widespread heavy rainfall through the plains into the Midwest. The thunderstorms that develop today will be the heaviest from Illinois into Indiana, northward to eastern Wisconsin and Michigan. And there could be some localized flash flooding as well as some damaging wind gusts from a few of the heavier storms. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop south and west along the same boundary, but will be more scattered through Missouri into eastern Kansas, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, also eastward to Kentucky, Tennessee, and western Ohio. Meanwhile, farther east in eastern Ohio, West Virginia, and northern Virginia into New England, it will be a hot day and dry as well, with highs in the 90s in many areas, including mid-90s in parts of Maine and New Hampshire. Behind the system, it's going to be much more comfortable through the northern plains from North and South Dakota into Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota. Plenty of sunshine for these areas, lower humidity, and afternoon temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Heading out west, we're seeing a largely dry pattern. Few scattered afternoon thunderstorms over New Mexico into Colorado. Otherwise, look for sunshine from Washington to Montana, southward through California into Arizona. Highs will once again be in the 100s in parts of each of these states. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. From the mayor of Washington, D.C. to some residents, people are not taking kindly to President Trump's order to place the police department in the nation's capital under federal control. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports on local reaction to President Trump's plan to make the capital of the United States safer.
President Trump says he's taking strong action in a bid to make the nation's capital safer.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth.
And he's taking over Washington, D.C.'s police,
placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control.
The president's also deploying the National Guard and hundreds of federal officers, all aimed at what he says is saving the city from drugged-out maniacs and others. The president says his administration's also removing homeless encampments.
Other cities are studying what we're doing.
And hopes places like Chicago and L.A. will self-clean without the administration getting involved.
Violent crime is down more than 25%. The facts, they just don't match his lies. No president should be waking up in the morning trying to snap their fingers and take over our city.
Trump does not care about D.C. safety. He cares about control.
Some Washingtonians are blasting President Trump's move to put the Capitol's police under federal control and activate the National Guard.
We're going to take our capital back.
Even as the president was speaking at the White House,
hands off D.C.
Kelsey Adams and Free D.C., a group aimed at protecting the district's home rule, rallied steps away as the president blasted the Capitol's violent crime rate.
This year, crime isn't just down from 2023. It's also down from 2019, before the pandemic, and we're at a 30-year violent crime low. We're not satisfied. We haven't taken our foot off the gas.
Mayor Muriel Bowser on WJLA.
While this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries calls the president's police takeover plan illegitimate, but Bowser notes D.C.'s home rule charter gives him the power to declare, in her words, a so-called emergency.
The authority is pretty broad.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Texas Republicans are announcing more tactics in their effort to have Democrats who left the state to delay a vote on redistricting returned. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports from the Lone Star State.
A tip line now set up to report any leads that could track down a Texas Democrat who's breaking quorum to delay a vote on proposed congressional maps that could give President Trump 5 seats in the midterm elections next year. This after the Texas House convened to start this week to find state Democrats absent like they were last week and like they promised to be until the current special legislative session ends.
The roll has been called and a quorum is not present.
House Speaker Dustin Burrows.
But you cannot escape your responsibility to the people of Texas. Eventually, you will be here.
He said he's keeping receipts.
For every gallon of gas, every mile traveled, and every hour of overtime associated with the pursuit of these missing members. Under Rule 5, Section 3 of the House Rules, those breaking quorum will be held financially responsible for the costs they've created.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says that the lawmakers are abandoning their duty and is moving forward on things like making it harder for them to get paid, ordering their arrests, and trying to oust Democrats from the legislature altogether. Meanwhile, Democratic governors are digging their heels in as they meet with the Texas Dems.
Hey, President Trump, it's time to stand down. It's time to make another phone call to Greg Abbott. This time, instead of calling him and telling him you're, quote unquote, entitled to 5 congressional seats, it's time to tell him to stand down. It's time to recognize that democracy is at risk. It's time to, dare I say, do the right thing. Actually, see how that feels for you, doing the right thing.
California Governor Gavin Newsom said in a social media post that if the president doesn't do what Newsom thinks is the right thing,
California will neutralize anything you do in the state of Texas. California will continue to punch above its weight. We believe in democracy. We believe in the enduring values of our founding fathers. 249 years. We're not going to sit back passively. We're not going to sit back and watch you light democracy on fire.
Newsom promised that California will redraw its maps to favor Democrats and, quote, fight fire with fire. I'm Clayton Neville.
saying that if the horrific acts of October 7 happened in Sydney or Melbourne, he's sure Prime Minister Anthony Albanese would go to war against terrorism. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu slams the announcement made by Australia to officially recognize a Palestinian state as rewarding terrorists and hostage takers. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Australia's move aligns with recent signals from leaders in France, Britain, and Canada.
Today I can confirm that at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September, Australia will recognise the state of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority.
Foreign Minister Penny Wong says Australia couldn't keep waiting for the end of a peace process that's ground to a halt before recognising a Palestinian state.
So last April, our government started a conversation with the Australian people about changing Australia's approach. We made clear we would recognise Palestine when it would best contribute momentum to peace. September is that time.
Wong adds,
it's been more than 77 years since the world promised a Palestinian state, knowing that there cannot be lasting peace for both peoples without a two-state solution. And in the nearly 2 years since October 7, we have been working with the international community on breaking the cycle of violence that the Middle East has known for generations. Across the world, nations have agreed that we cannot keep doing the same thing and hoping for a different outcome.
Australia's government has also criticised plans announced in recent days by Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu for a sweeping new military offensive in Gaza. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Members of the GOP questioning President Trump's big, beautiful tax cuts when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. More is being learned about the man who opened fire in Atlanta at the building housing the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday, killing a police officer. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay has the latest.
Fox News Atlanta is reporting that police reports show the suspected CDC shooter, Patrick Joseph White, had police called on him 3 different times about being suicidal in the past year. In at least one of those calls, White's father told dispatchers that White was in possession of a gun. Police also responded to White's home on April 25th after he had reportedly called a veterans crisis line. 18 days after the last known call to 911 regarding White, he showed up at the CDC office and opened fire. The Associated Press reporting White fired over 180 rounds into the campus and broke almost 150 windows, as well as killing a police officer. The AP also reporting that police believe White was motivated to commit the shooting because of his belief that the COVID-19 vaccine caused his depression. White was found dead on the campus of Emory University near the CDC. Police have not said if he died by suicide or if he was killed. Several states across the U.S. have what's known as a red flag law, which allows a judge to temporarily remove someone's access to guns if they are found to be in danger to themselves or others. Georgia, not one of those states. I'm Jeff McKay.
Investigation underway into a weekend fire that ripped through a house in Charles County, Maryland, killing 6 people. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Investigators are poring over a deadly house fire that killed 4 children and 2 adults Sunday morning in Waldorf, Maryland, about 30 miles south of Washington, D.C. Master Deputy State Fire Marshal Oliver Alkiri says the blaze originated in an enclosed porch.
When they arrived, they observed heavy fire on the right side of the home, also throughout the home. They were immediately told that there was somebody inside, possibly several family members.
It took over 70 firefighters to control the blaze. 1 firefighter was hospitalized and another responder was treated at the scene for unspecified injuries.
There is a total of 9 people that reside here. 3 of those are safely where they need to be.
Charles County Fire and EMS spokesman Bill Smith says it was devastating, but the firefighters did a phenomenal job for the conditions they were dealt with the entire house fully involved in flames. Audio courtesy WJLA. I'm Jennifer King.
There's new reporting on an analysis of President Trump's big tax cut law, but there are questions from the GOP as to the source of the information. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
A new report from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says President Trump's tax and spending law will mean less income for the poorest Americans while sending money to the richest. The estimate from the CBO is the 10% of poorest Americans will lose roughly $1,200 a year because of cuts in Medicaid and food assistance, while the richest 10% of Americans will see their income increase by $13,600 from tax cuts. The report says overall there will be more income from the tax cuts, but the biggest benefit goes to the top earners. House Ways and Means Committee Chair Jason Smith says he doesn't buy it, adding the CBO has a troubled track record of getting its estimates incorrect and, like Democrats, is biased in favor of more federal spending and higher taxes. Ed Donahue, Washington.
NVIDIA and AMD have just brokered a deal with the U.S. government that will allow them to once again sell advanced processors to the Chinese in a very unique way. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
NVIDIA and AMD are back in the China chip game. With a twist, they're cutting in the U.S. government for a 15% cut of the sales. This first-of-its-kind deal came after an April ban on NVIDIA H20 AI chips and AMD's MI308 chips and other advanced processors being sold to China. The U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that NVIDIA's change of course is related to trade discussions with China regarding the rare earth elements that we need for making components like rechargeable batteries for EVs. Bernstein Analytics said that the NVIDIA deal alone could sell 1.5 million H20 chips for $23 billion in 2025. Critics say this is more of a shakedown, arguing that it's less about security and more about profit. Cutting in Uncle Sam for a piece of the profits is definitely a high-stakes AI game, with China likely with the most to gain. Find me on X, @ChuckPalm.
America in the Morning Sports is in. Here's Robert Workman.
Baseball Monday, the Brewers rolled over the Pirates 7-1 for their 10th win in a row. Bryce Terang got it going with his first career leadoff homer. Milwaukee is now 30 games over 500 with about a quarter of the season to go. Rangers rallied from down 6-1 to nip the Diamondbacks 7-6 in 10 innings. Rowdy Tellez tied it with a ninth-inning dinger. Then Jake Berger won it with a pinch single in extras. Kyle Schwarber's 42nd homer of the season helped the Phillies to a 4-1 win over the Reds. Cardinals edged the Rockies 3-2 on Brendan Donovan's pinch hit two-run double in the 8th.
You look around the league, there's not a lot of success pinch hitting. So you try not to be result-driven. You try to be like, what's the plan? Did I execute the plan? Even if I got out, did I move something hard forward?
Colorado has dropped 8 straight. Rays days the A's 7-4. Brandon Lau and Junior Caminero with back-to-back jacks in the 7th. Yankees got consecutive homers from Giancarlo Stanton and Ben Rice in the 3rd as they topped the Twins 6-2. Angels down the Dodgers 7-4. Zach Neto hit a leadoff homer and added a solo shot in the 6th. Padres over the Giants 4-1. They moved to within a game of the Dodgers at the top of the NL West. Spencer Torkelson snapped a tie game in the top of the 9th with a big fly to give the Tigers a 2-1 win over the White Sox. Astros held off the Red Sox 7-6, and the Royals powered past the Nationals 7-4. Golf U.S. Open winner J.J. Spaun and two-time major champ Xander Schauffele will join world number 1 Scotty Scheffler on the U.S. Ryder Cup team next month. Spaun's second-place finish at the St. Jude Championship over the weekend earned him his first Ryder Cup berth, while Schauffele, ranked 3rd in the world, makes his 3rd Ryder Cup team. 3 more spots will be determined after this week's BMW Championship outside Baltimore. That's the 2nd round of the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's Tuesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. TV's South Park, taking their politics with a grain of salt after these messages. A veteran race car driver has succumbed to his injuries after a weekend crash. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
A veteran stock car driver has died after a medical emergency during a short track race in North Carolina. Robbie Brewer's car hit a wall Saturday night at the Bowman Gray Stadium track in Winston-Salem, coming to a stop near the start-finish line. Track workers removed the 53-year-old from the car, and an ambulance took him to a hospital, after which he died. Details of the medical emergency weren't released. Brewer was competing in a 20-lap sportsman division race. Fellow Fellow driver Brad Lewis described Brewer as a mentor and friend. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will have to do more with less. The Hollywood Reporter is saying that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have re-upped with Netflix, extending their creative partnership, but as a first-look deal, which gives Netflix an option on program proposals and is a downgrade from their original arrangement. The length of financial terms of the deal were not disclosed. Their previous contract with Netflix, launched in 2020, was believed to be worth $100 million. Since the days of the Clinton administration, TV's animated South Park has satirized politics. Their new target has seemingly revised the show. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
The new season of Comedy Central's South Park isn't making new political friends, but it certainly is paying off. By skewering the Trump administration, the show is seeing some of the highest ratings ever. Episode 2 debuted with 838,000 linear broadcast viewers. That's up a whopping 95% from the week before. Moreover, with delayed viewing on streaming, the episode earned 5.9 million viewers and counting. The target this week was ICE.
If you're crazy or fat and lazy, we don't care at all.
In particular, it takes aim at the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Noem is shown with a face that melts off because of too much Botox.
Who could replace a face like that?
Think I can't handle myself because I'm a lady with good looks that drives me wild?
According to The Hollywood Reporter, this was the third highest watched episode of the series ever. On Thursday, Noem was a guest on Glenn Beck's podcast and talked about her portrayal.
It's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. Only the liberals and the extremists do that.
South Park did target more than her appearance, though. It featured a running gag of Noem shooting puppies, a reference to the story in her autobiography in which she admits to shooting her 14-month-old dog. It also depicted ICE as rounding up only people with brown skin and constantly wearing masks to hide their identities.
Remember, only detain the brown ones!
Now that they've caught their audience's attention again, what's on deck for this week? I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.